Hallelujah. YouTube algorithm sure is gonna love me. Hello, what's up fellow procrastinators? 1 month, or is it like 4 weeks? 4 weeks no see. It's me, Flamecom, and I'm here to, talk a little something about cinema cameras. Because I have with me in the studio, this! Oh, shit, it's real heavy. I feel like Grant Petty from Blackmagic, who just like nonchalantly pulls out the 12K camera and just like out from under his desk and just places it on the table. And then it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the new camera. Over the past 4 days, I've just been like non-stop filming for a friend's student film sort of final year, like final semester project. Yeah, that'll be me soon. It was intense. I am so tired right now. I have to return this tomorrow. I have to return it back to the university. Now, in the limited time that I had with this camera, in fact, it was just really the first day of shooting that I really used this, then decided it was too heavy, which I'll get to, and decided to just use my Blackmagic pocket camera instead. I learned a few things, and yeah, I'm just gonna draw some like quick comparisons between like a big proper cinema camera and something more budget friendly and lightweight like the Pocket 4K. Just gonna list some pros and cons of each camera, i.e. what they have an advantage over the other of. Oh, by the way, this is like the Ursa Mini like 4.6K G1 or whatever it's called. It's not like the G2, which has like a lot more buttons and like an built-in ND filter. Nah, this is not that. So the first disadvantage or con of having an Ursa is, well, the weight. It is freaking heavy. So I could not imagine myself having to be able to soldier on through like 4 days of shooting with this setup, because it's just me sitting down, just like having this on my shoulder. It's already just hell on my shoulder right now, and it was 4 days of shooting. My tendons are hurting from like trying to tighten things and grip things so much. Don't want to add a bad back and a bad shoulder to that. Con number 2 would be the battery life. My university actually gave us 2 of these 98 watt-hour batteries. These on this camera runs out fast. I have not been out for long and it's already almost halfway depleted, and it's got 48 minutes left. But if I attach this 98 watt-hour battery to the Pocket 4K, it literally lasts all day. It's like 6 to 7 hours. Yes, on the one battery, I never needed to swap batteries. I mean, that's to be expected. It's a big, bulky body with lots of I/O ports. It has a lot more processing power than the Pocket 4K. This one, still soldering on. And I haven't charged this since yesterday when I was still like out filming. Crazy efficient. I'd say, I don't know if I should count this as con number 3 or not. I guess I should, but just right now, I'm working on an older firmware. Yeah, it's like missing like a few features. I don't know if it's like a hardware issue or software issue, or it's like a combination of both. One would be like the lack of a Blackmagic RAW, because this is still using the Cinema DNG like Blackmagic used to. The ISO ranges, you can only go from like 200, 400, 800, and 1600.
That's it?
That's it.
Yes.
There's nothing in between. There's nothing lower, and there's nothing higher. Suffice to say, low light camera, this is not. I'm recording now. I'm started at ISO 400, 500, 640, 800, 1000. And then when you go from 1000 to 1250, boom, the noise is gone once again. So the noise floor, very, very big, not big. Noise floor big, noise floor not big. And unfortunately, with the Ursa Mini like G1 being a relatively older hardware, it doesn't have that dual native ISO thing. By the way, how's like skin tone and everything? Yeah, I know this is 4.6K and that this should be a very, very pleasing, there's like very sharp looking image, but like how's like skin tones and all that? That's what I'm thinking of. And if I want to smooth things out, the skin tone that is, put on a black Pro Mist filter And there you go. It's like minor subtle differences. It should hopefully take some of the edge off, the sort of artificially like unorganically looking sharpness that you can see. Yeah, you can see, you know, all my acne and stuff, you know. Hopefully this black Pro Mist filter takes the edge off of that. Alright, watchers, ready? I'll press play on the previous clip and you hear some clicks from the lens or whatever. Now it comes on. Here I'll press play. That was fast. Hey, click and turn. That's already on, and that's only just come on. But yeah, that's the negatives. Now on to the positives. Pro number one, the body pretty much is ready to go, like from, well, the get-go. Like you'd still have to buy some optional Blackmagic parts like this viewfinder, which works off of the front SDI, the battery plate, the shoulder pad, which you can attach to the Sony VCT plates. Yeah, there's like less rigging up than the Blackmagic, because with the Blackmagic, it's sort of replicating the, or trying to anyways, to replicate like the DSLR experience. Yeah, it still needs like a cage for you to attach accessories to. And even though the Pocket 4K has a good selection of I/O ports, this far exceeds the Blackmagic. SDI in, out, another front SDI. SDI cords, once you use them, you never go back. Plug it in, twist it, that is locked. And I do actually have a monitor that supports SDI at the back. So I did use this Portkeys BM5 on my day one for like a director or my camera assist, someone who was beside me to my right could watch the monitor, social distancing considered, of course. Because of the abundance of I/O ports, this is meant to be used very well in like a set environment sort of setting where you have multiple film crews that needs to be interacting and touching the camera. Oh, that just came out. I guess as I'm attaching this, I'll talk about advantage number two. Yeah, advantage number two, it relates to con number one, the weight. It's like a double-edged sword. It's gonna like destroy my shoulders, but also too, by the same token, because it's heavy, I can have quite stable shoulder rig footage. It actually is quite a comfortable hold, you know, having at least 3 to 4 points of contact. There's my two hands on this, there's my eye just resting on that, the fourth point is on my shoulder, so it's actually quite stable, giving me quite a good image quality. Although there's some, I think the only thing that's faulty with it is that it displays like the wrong ISO value when I change ISO. It's weird. I still wouldn't do running shots with it. I'd use a gimbal. Ideally, you shouldn't take this running. That is still shaky. Not entirely run and gun because it's so heavy. That's why, again, I use the Pocket 4K. That there is a solid thud.
Man, look how many more options there are. All flavors of ProRes up to XQ. It's Cinema DNG, not Blackmagic Raw, because this is an outdated firmware. But even still, look at all the resolutions as well. Another beautiful thing is that no matter if I'm in RAW or ProRes, I get to select all the resolution options. Whereas on the Blackmagic, say I want to record in anamorphic mode, so I go into the settings. See, in ProRes, I'm only limited to 3 options, like 4K DCI, Ultra HD, and HD, and the other options are grayed out. I'd have to go to Blackmagic RAW to have all 6 options. Only those 6 options, but like once again, ProRes, I still get to go anamorphic, and yeah, look, it just, you know, cuts out the sides. By the way, that's a really cool looking image, isn't it? It's just a chair, but still. Where's peak? Nice.
So look, like now I'm just gonna move on to the Pocket 4K. Yeah, I'm just sort of like rushing through points because I'm just sort of improvising this video. The last sort of advantage of the Ursa that I mentioned, that comes as a con of the Pocket 4K. It's not really too well suited to be in like a studio environment. I think I should have said studio environment rather than setting or whatever it is I said. I phrase things very weirdly. Yeah, when you have multiple people that needs to be touching bits and bobs and of the camera. yeah, the Pocket 4K, not really too much for that. It's trying to straddle this weird line between being a cinema camera and trying to get into the world of sort of like DSLR slash like hybrid mirrorless camera video like slash filmmaking world. It kind of doesn't hit the nail on the head in both realms. It's in this like weird gray area. It just like it depends on what kind of content you make. Some people have said that they could go cageless and for their line of work they're ready to go with the camera, but with the stuff that I was filming the last 4 days, yeah, I needed to invest like another $1,000 or whatever in various parts here and there. Whereas again, the Ursa Mini just is pretty much ready to go. I'd say I'd add this con equally to the Ursa as well. No built-in ND filter. So yeah, again, this is not the G2 version, so yikes. Yeah, once you have built-in ND filter, you'll never look back. You won't you won't necessarily need matte boxes or anything. You can just like use whatever lens would came with your lens if you're using like photography lens and whatnot. I think just, yeah, matte boxes. My uni gave us matte boxes, but me as the cinematographer, I was just like, I know it's gonna be way too cumbersome just like fiddling with the barn doors and just like inserting ND filters in and out, and just everything is just like screws and just bits and bobs here and there. They're just so fiddly, okay? And being how run and gun it was and how hectic the shooting schedule was, I just wanted to remove that out of the equation and just stick to the Sigma 18-35 and like the photography lens, not the cinema version of the lens. Removing fiddly stuff is sort of my priority. It's like what can get me the shot in an efficient manner is like what I'm going for, which is why I went with this camera. So you know what, I guess I will use that to segue into the advantages. Yeah, this camera is lightweight. It's so lightweight, and if I wanted to be like heavier, like hence the heavier shoulder rig thing, I can make it heavier with all the parts here. Advantage number 2, yeah, the image quality is comparable, and like the amazing thing is the Gen 5 color science that Blackmagic has, it's like it works retroactively. So even though hardware wise the Pocket 4K has Gen 4 science, somewhere in the software, I guess because this is all in-house, the Blackmagic ecosystem, they're able to make the Pocket 4K also have like Gen 5 colors when you go into like the public beta of DaVinci Resolve. It's super flat, it retains highlights even more, it apparently does the reds better. I'm not a color expert or anything. The Ursa is purporting like 15 stops of dynamic range, but I'd say with this camera, with its 13 stops of dynamic range, it holds its own. Yeah, it really does. But as any sort of cinematographers should know, reliability takes precedent over image quality. I'd say with the advent of the Sony a7S III, the Canon R5, the conversation has recently sort of finally shifted from just like specs to the question of reliability and the usability of it. How usable and reliable is it in a very hectic situation with film crews and all that? Can you depend on the camera not overheating and having, you know, adjustable parts and being usable with film crew, you know, all that stuff. Reliability, word of the day, reliability. But yeah, with that said, I think I will have also a separate video comparing the Ursa with the Pocket 4K in terms of image quality. Alright, with that said, until next time, fellow procrastinators, thanks for watching and keep on procrastinating, so see ya!